Captain Elias Ward was a man who had traveled through the stars for more than 10 years. His ship, the Silver Dawn, was not the biggest or the most beautiful, but it was steady and reliable. Elias made his living as a trader, moving small cargo between colonies and alien outposts. It was not a glamorous life, but it gave him freedom. He answered to no one except himself and the crew that trusted him. The crew was small, only 4 people in total. There was Mira, the engineer, who always kept the engines humming even when spare parts were hard to find. There was Jonah, the pilot, who had a talent for navigating asteroid fields with calm confidence. And there was Kareen, the medic, who also served as cook and comforter when long journeys wore down everyone's patience. Together, they were more like family than co-workers. Elias liked this life. It was simple. Trade goods here, move them there, make a little profit, and move on. But sometimes strange things happened in the outer systems, things that could not be found in trade manuals or star charts. One such thing happened on a quiet day at Turnus Station, a small, rundown outpost on the edge of alien territory. Elias had just finished delivering a shipment of grain when an alien merchant named Drather approached him. Drather was a tall being with pale green skin and wide golden eyes. He looked nervous, as if he feared being followed. "Captain Ward," Drather said in a voice that sounded like dry leaves moving in the wind, "I am in your debt. You carried my cargo last season when no one else would. Without you, my family would have starved. I must repay you." Elias waved his hand. "You already paid. We agreed on a price." Drather shook his head quickly. "Not enough. Not for saving us. I cannot give you credits, not now. But I can offer you something else." Elias raised an eyebrow. He did not like the sound of that. Too often, something else meant trouble. "What kind of something?" Drather gestured, and from behind him stepped a young woman. At first glance, she seemed no different from many alien travelers Elias had seen. Her skin was a pale shade of blue, her hair long and silver like threads of light, and her eyes shimmered with an unusual depth, almost like liquid glass. She wore a simple robe, plain and without decoration. "This is Lyra," Drather said softly. She has been with my household for some time. She is skilled, quiet, and useful. I give her to you as payment." The words made Elias stiffen. He looked from Drather to the young woman, then back again. "Give her to me? She's not cargo." Drather lowered his eyes. "In my culture, it is not uncommon. She is not harmed. She will serve you well." Lyra said nothing. She simply stood there, her hands folded in front of her, her eyes lowered. Elias felt a knot of discomfort in his chest. He did not believe in treating anyone as property. But he also saw fear in Drather's eyes and something else. Desperation. It was clear that refusing might shame him or even put Lyra in danger. Elias turned to Lyra. "Do you want to come with me?" he asked gently. For the first time, she lifted her gaze to meet his. Her eyes were strange, full of quiet strength, though she spoke in a soft voice. "I will go with you." There was no emotion in her words, only calm acceptance. Elias sighed. He did not like this arrangement, but he could not leave her behind either. He nodded slowly. "Very well. She'll come with me, but not as payment. She'll come as part of my crew." Drather seemed relieved, though his hands still trembled. He bowed deeply. "Thank you, Captain. You have my gratitude." And just like that, Lyra became part of the Silver Dawn. The first days with Lyra on board were quiet. She spoke little, moved carefully, and spent most of her time observing. Mira, the engineer, tried to engage her in conversation but found her polite yet distant. Jonah, the pilot, joked that she was like a ghost walking through the ship. Kareen treated her kindly, offering food and comfort, but Lyra only gave small smiles in return. Elias watched all this with growing curiosity. Lyra was clearly not ordinary. She carried herself with grace, almost like someone raised in a place of importance. Even the way she sat at the table, straight-backed and calm, seemed different from a servant or worker. One evening, when the ship was traveling through a quiet stretch of space, Elias found Lyra in the observation deck. She was staring out at the stars, her face lit softly by the glow of distant suns. "You're adjusting well?" Elias asked. She turned to him, her expression unreadable. "This ship is peaceful. Your crew is kind. You're free here," Elias said firmly. "You're not anyone's servant. Not mine, not anyone's. Do you understand?" Lyra tilted her head slightly as if the concept was strange to her. "Free," she repeated quietly. "What does freedom mean, Captain Ward?" The question caught him off guard. "It means you make your own choices. You decide where you go, what you do. No one controls you." Lyra looked back at the stars. "That sounds unfamiliar, but perhaps I will learn." Elias left her to her thoughts, but the conversation stayed with him. Over the next week, small signs revealed that Lyra was far more than she seemed. Once, when Jonah was struggling with a navigation problem near a dense star cluster, Lyra quietly stepped forward and pointed out a safer route. Jonah followed her suggestion, and the ship slipped through the cluster with ease. Another time, while Mira was adjusting the engines, Lyra passed by and casually mentioned a technique for improving fuel efficiency. Mira was shocked. Only a trained engineer would know such things. And during a trade stop at a small colony, Lyra handled a conversation with local aliens better than Elias himself. She spoke their dialect fluently and even negotiated a small bonus for their cargo. The crew exchanged puzzled looks. Who was this quiet young woman who knew so much about star maps, machines, and diplomacy? When Elias asked her about it, Lyra simply smiled faintly. "I have learned many things," she said, "and nothing more." One night, Mira whispered to Elias in the mess hall, "She's no servant, Captain. Look at the way she moves, the way she talks. There's something hidden there." Jonah nodded. "I agree. She's educated, maybe even high-born. Definitely not ordinary." Elias leaned back in his chair, his mind troubled. He already suspected as much. Lyra's quiet strength, her calm intelligence, and the mystery in her eyes, none of it fit the story Drather had told. But Elias decided not to press her. He believed that in time, Lyra would reveal the truth herself. For now she was safe on his ship, and that was enough. Still, as he lay awake that night, Elias could not shake the feeling that bringing her aboard had changed the course of his life forever. Something important was hidden within Lyra, something that could shake not only his small crew but perhaps the galaxy itself. And though the stars outside shone in silence, Elias felt the quiet pull of destiny beginning to stir. The silver dawn moved quietly through the endless stretch of stars. Life aboard the ship had settled into a calm rhythm, though the presence of Lyra continued to puzzle everyone. She was quiet but not shy, gentle but never weak, and above all she carried an air of calm wisdom that seemed out of place for someone who had been introduced as a servant. Captain Elias Ward noticed it more each day. She never wasted words, but when she spoke, her suggestions were precise, helpful, and always correct. At first he thought it was luck. But luck could not explain how she understood the complex machinery of the ship or the subtle manners of alien traders they met. The mystery of Lyra deepened. One morning, Jonah, the pilot, sat at the navigation console with a frown on his face. They were traveling near a region of unstable space where stars and gravity made travel tricky. He scratched his head, muttering, "If I go this way, the ship might get caught in a gravity pull. But if I go the other way, we'll waste 3 days in detour." Lyra was standing nearby, watching the star maps with quiet interest. She stepped closer, her silver hair glinting under the lights. "If you angle the ship 23 degrees north and pass behind the red star cluster," she said softly, "you will avoid the gravity well. The journey will be shorter by 2 days. Jonah blinked at her. "And how do you know that?" Lyra pointed at the map. "The patterns of gravity here are not random. The cluster hides a natural corridor. If you look carefully, you will see it." Jonah leaned closer and to his surprise saw exactly what she meant. It was subtle, something only an expert navigator might notice. He looked at her with wide eyes. That's brilliant. You should be sitting in this chair, not me. Lyra only gave a small smile and returned to silence. Later that week, Mira was in the engine room, bent over the humming core of the ship. She was frustrated, wiping her hands on a cloth. These engines burn too much fuel, she complained. At this rate, we'll run out before reaching the next station. I wish I had a better stabilizer. Lyra, who often walked the corridors quietly, appeared at the doorway. If you adjust the second intake valve and narrow the flow by 3%, the fuel will last longer. Mira raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? This is complex machinery. It's not something you just guess at. I am not guessing, Lyra said calmly. The design of this engine is based on older Orathian models. They always ran better with smaller intake adjustments. Try it. Mira, curious but doubtful, made the change. To her astonishment, the engine's hum grew smoother, and the readout showed reduced fuel use. Mira stared at Lyra. How did you know that? You don't look like an engineer. Lyra gave a small shrug. I have read many things. I remember them. And once again, she left behind a trail of questions without answers. It was Carrie. The Silver Dawn drifted through quiet space, its engines humming softly in the background. For weeks now, Lyra had lived among the crew, sharing meals, offering advice, and helping in ways that still amazed them. She had become part of their daily rhythm, yet her mystery remained. Captain Elias Ward often found himself watching her when she thought no one noticed. She was graceful, steady, and calm, but her eyes carried a depth that spoke of hidden burdens. He knew she was keeping secrets. The question was how long she could keep them locked away. One evening, the ship anchored near Zareth's Ring, a lonely gas station orbiting a pale blue planet. The crew had gone to barter for supplies, leaving Elias and Lyra alone on the ship. The bridge was quiet, the stars glittering outside the viewport like scattered jewels. Elias sat at the console, studying trade routes. Lyra stood nearby, as she often did, gazing at the stars. For a long time, silence filled the room. Then she spoke. Captain, she said softly, you once told me that on your ship no one has to hide. Elias looked up, surprised by the sudden seriousness in her voice. That's right, I meant it. Lyra turned to face him fully. Her shimmering eyes seemed brighter than usual, as though reflecting starlight from within. Then perhaps it is time I tell you what I have hidden. Elias leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. He had been waiting for this. I'm listening. Lyra took a deep breath, as though preparing herself for something heavy. Her voice, when she began, was calm but carried weight. My name is not simply Lyra. I am Lyra Orathis Vena, daughter of the Orathian royal house. In your words, I am a princess. Elias's eyes widened. For a moment he thought she was joking, but the steady seriousness in her expression told him otherwise. A princess, he repeated slowly. From the Orathian Empire? Lyra nodded. Yes, my family rules over dozens of systems. Our empire is known for its wealth, its trade, and its influence across the galaxy. Elias sat in stunned silence. He had heard of the Orathians, who hadn't? They were one of the most powerful civilizations in known space, famous for their riches and their politics. To think that the quiet girl on his ship was part of that ruling family seemed almost impossible. But how did you end up here? Elias asked finally. Lyra lowered her gaze. Because of betrayal. In the Empire, power is never safe. Some, among the noble houses, sought to remove me. I was sent away in secret, hidden under the guise of a servant. The plan was to erase me quietly without scandal. If I disappeared, they could claim my inheritance and influence. Her voice did not break, but Elias could hear the sadness behind her calm words. I was given to Drather as though I were nothing, Lyra continued. He did not know my true identity. To him, I was just a girl placed in his household. But it was safer than being in the palace where every shadow might hide a knife. Still, I remained in danger. That is how I came into your hands, Captain Ward. A twist of fate, perhaps. Elias leaned forward, his voice low. So you're saying, the Orathian princess, heir to one of the richest empires, was traded away, like cargo? Lyra met his gaze, her eyes steady. Yes, that is the truth. For a moment, Elias could only shake his head. This is beyond anything I imagined. Do the others know? No, Lyra said. And I ask that you do not tell them, not yet. The more people who know, the greater the risk. If word spreads, hunters will come, and they will not stop until I am captured or silenced. Elias felt the weight of her words. He thought of Mira, Jonah, and Kareen, his crew, his family. They trusted him. They trusted Lyra too, though they did not know her secret. Keeping it from them felt wrong, but revealing it might endanger them all. He sighed. This puts us in a dangerous position, Lyra. If your enemies are as powerful as you say, carrying you could make us a target. Lyra's expression softened. I know. That is why I hesitated to tell you. But you deserve the truth. You risk your ship and your crew for me without knowing who I am. It is only right that you understand. Elias studied her closely. She was calm, but he saw the flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. She trusted him enough to reveal her identity. That trust touched him more than he expected. Later that night, Elias gathered the crew in the mess hall. He did not reveal the full truth, but spoke carefully. Lyra has told me things, he said. Important things. She's not who we thought she was. She carries a heavy burden, and that means danger may follow us. I can't explain everything yet, but I want you all to trust me when I say we need to protect her. Mira crossed her arms. Protect her? Captain, I knew she wasn't ordinary, but what kind of danger are we talking about? Powerful kind, Elias admitted. The kind that could bring trouble if we're careless. Jonah whistled softly. So we're flying with a secret passenger? Well, secrets usually mean adventure, don't they? Kareen nodded thoughtfully. She's been kind to us. Whatever. Her secret is, I believe it's not evil. If she needs safety, we can give it. Their loyalty reassured Elias, though he could see questions in their eyes. They trusted him, but curiosity burned within them. In the days that followed, Elias found himself thinking often about Lyra's revelation. She was a princess, wealthy, powerful, and important. Yet she lived quietly among them, eating simple meals, working alongside them, offering her knowledge freely. One evening, as the ship glided through the void, Elias approached her again on the observation deck. You could have kept your secret forever, he said. Why tell me? Lyra looked out at the stars, her expression calm. Because you treated me with respect when no one else did. You saw me as a person, not as property or prize. I trust you, Captain Ward. Perhaps more than I should. Her words struck him deeply. Elias was not a man of grand titles or riches. He was just a trader, a man with a modest ship and a loyal crew. Yet here was a princess, admitting she trusted him more than her own empire. He did not know what the future held, but he knew this much. He could not abandon her. The mystery of Lyra soon changed the way the crew looked at her, even without knowing the full truth. Jonah often asked her questions about diplomacy and alien customs, sensing her deeper knowledge. Mira listened more closely when Lyra spoke of technology. Kareen treated her with growing respect, as though recognizing the quiet authority she carried. Lyra remained gentle and humble, but she no longer seemed like a servant in disguise. She was something more, someone destined for greatness. But greatness brought danger. The rumors that spread through the trade lanes grew louder, whispers of a missing princess, of political plots, of enemies searching the stars. Elias knew it was only a matter of time before those whispers turned into hunters. One night, as the ship passed through a silent sector, Elias stood on the bridge, with Lyra. The stars stretched endlessly before them. Your secret is safe with me, Elias said firmly, but you need to know something. I won't trade you for profit, and I won't hand you to anyone. You're part of this crew now. Whatever happens, we face it together." Lyra turned to him, her eyes bright with unspoken emotion. "You honor me, Captain Ward, more than you realize. In my world, trust is rare. Here, on your ship, I have found it." And for the first time since she had boarded the Silver Dawn, Lyra's calm mask broke slightly. She looked almost at peace. The revelation had changed everything. The crew no longer traveled with an ordinary girl, but with a princess carrying the weight of an empire. Elias knew challenges lay ahead, but he also knew something else. Humanity had been given a chance to prove itself, not through power or wealth, but through loyalty, kindness, and trust. And though the galaxy was vast and dangerous, Elias felt a quiet pride. Whatever storms were coming, they would face them together. The Silver Dawn drifted through the black sea of space, its engines humming with a steady rhythm. Life aboard the ship had grown different since Lyra had revealed her secret to Captain Elias Ward. He carried the truth quietly, speaking of it to no one else, but the knowledge sat heavy in his mind. The young woman who lived among them was not just a passenger, she was a princess, heir to the powerful Orathian Empire. Elias had promised her safety, but deep inside, he wondered how long he could keep that promise. The galaxy was vast, but secrets had a way of traveling faster than light. It began with whispers. At the small trading station of Varith's Haven, the crew heard rumors while bartering for food and fuel. Jonah overheard two alien merchants speaking in hushed tones. "They say the Orathian court is restless," one muttered. "A princess is missing. Some say she was betrayed. Others say she escaped." The other leaned closer. "I heard bounty. Agents have been sent. They offer riches beyond imagining for information. Whoever finds her first will rise in power." Jonah frowned, his stomach tightening. He didn't tell them that a silver-haired young woman was waiting on their ship. Instead, he hurried back to Elias. The captain listened quietly, his expression grave. He had expected this sooner or later. Now the search had begun. That night, Elias found Lyra on the observation deck again, gazing at the endless stars. She turned when he entered, her calm face lit by the glow of distant suns. "They're looking for you," Elias said simply. Lyra did not flinch. "I know. I feel the net tightening. The Empire would not let me vanish without pursuit. My enemies will not rest until I am captured or erased." Elias studied her. "Then we'll have to stay ahead of them. My crew doesn't—" The Silver Dawn moved through space like a quiet shadow, its engines dimmed to avoid scanners. Every day felt longer than the last. The crew could sense the danger pressing closer, like a storm that could break at any moment. It was Mira who said, "At first, they're going to find us, Captain. We can't run forever." Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed the worry that sat heavy in all of them. Elias sat in the captain's chair, staring at the star map. Bright points of light marked patrols and coded signals. The hunters were everywhere. Jonah leaned forward. "We're traders, Elias, not warriors. If we keep this up, we'll lose the ship. Or worse. We need to think about the crew." His words hung in the air. No one said the name, but everyone knew who he meant. Lyra. She stood quietly at the back of the bridge, listening. She had grown used to the unspoken tension. The crew did not blame her, but they all knew she was the reason danger followed them. "I can leave," she said softly. All heads turned toward her. Her silver hair caught the light, and her calm face showed no fear, only a quiet sadness. "If I go, the danger will leave with me," she continued. "You will be safe. I will find my way." But Elias shook his head. His voice was firm. "No, that's not an option. We don't abandon people. Not on this ship." Jonah sighed, rubbing his face. "Elias, listen. You know I'll follow you anywhere, but you have to face facts. If she's really who I think she is, then this is bigger than us. The hunters will never stop, and we're just one small ship. What can we do against an empire?" Elias's jaw tightened. He didn't answer right away. That night, the crew gathered in the mess hall. The air felt heavy, as if the walls themselves knew the decision before them. Elias stood at the head of the table. "We need to talk," he said. He looked at each of them, Jonah, Mira, Kareen, and Lyra. They were more than crew to him. They were family. That made the choice even harder. "You've all seen what's happening," Elias continued. "The Orathians are closing in. The bounty hunters are everywhere. They're searching every ship, every station. It's only a matter of time before they corner us." Mira folded her arms. "So what do we do?" Elias took a breath. "We have two choices. One, we give her up." His eyes flicked toward Lyra, who sat silently, her face calm but pale. "If we hand her over, they'll leave us alone. We'll go back to being traitors, living our quiet lives." Kareen frowned. "And the other choice?" "We protect her," Elias said, "all the way to safety. That means standing against whoever comes. It means risking the ship, our lives, everything." The room was silent. Lyra spoke quietly. "You should not carry my burden. I never wished for this. If you let me go, no one will think less of you." But Mira leaned forward. "If we give you up, Lyra, what happens to you?" Lyra hesitated, then said softly, "I would not live to see the throne again. My enemies will silence me. That is why I ran." Her words fell like stones. Now they all understood the weight of the choice. Jonah finally spoke. "We're traitors, Elias, not heroes. If we fight the Empire, we'll lose." Mira shot him a sharp look. "Maybe, but what kind of people would we be if we gave her up to die?" Jonah opened his mouth, then closed it again. Elias watched them, his heart heavy but proud. They were arguing because they cared, not just about themselves but about Lyra too. At last, Kareen broke the silence. Her voice was soft but steady. "I vote we protect her." Mira nodded. "So do I." Jonah groaned. "You two are going to get us all killed." But after a moment he sighed. "Fine. Count me in." All eyes turned to Elias. He met Lyra's gaze. She looked at him with quiet hope, but also fear. Fear for them, not for herself. Elias spoke firmly. "Then it's decided. We stand with her, no matter what comes." From that moment, the ship changed. They were no longer just running. They were preparing. Kareen worked day and night to reinforce the shields, rerouting power from less important systems. Jonah rewired the sensor array, giving them better warning of approaching ships. Mira studied star charts, finding hidden routes through asteroid fields and nebulae. Even Lyra helped, though she had little experience with starships. She cleaned, cooked, and kept watch. Her presence brought quiet strength, as if her calm spirit gave the crew courage. Elias felt it most of all. He had been a trader for years, drifting from port to port, never looking for more. But now he felt something different. Purpose. They weren't just carrying cargo anymore. They were carrying hope. The true test came 1 week later. The Silver Dawn had just crossed the edge of the Harlan Nebula when the alarms blared. Jonah shouted from the console, "Contact! Fast ship on our tail. They're locking onto us." Elias rushed to the bridge. On the screen, a sleek black vessel closed in. Its hull was armed with weapons far stronger than theirs. Mira cursed under her breath. "It's a hunter." The comm crackled, and a cold voice filled the air. "Traitor vessel, surrender the fugitive. Hand over the Orathian princess and you will be spared." The crew froze. They had not told the hunters anything, yet the pursuers already knew. Lyra's face went pale. "They know who I am." Elias clenched his fists. He could feel the fear, pressing in on them, but he pushed it aside. "Mira, get us into the nebula. Jonah, jam their lock. Kareen, brace the shields." The Silver Dawn dived into the glowing clouds of the nebula, lightning flashing across the hull as the hunter followed close behind. The ship shook with each blast from the enemy weapons. Sparks flew from the consoles. "Shields at 60%, Kareen shouted. Lyra gripped the railing, her heart pounding. She wanted to speak, to say she would surrender, but the sight of Elias standing firm stopped her. He had already made his choice. So had the crew. The chase tore through the nebula, the hunter pressing closer. Jonah's hands flew over the console. "They're too fast, Captain. We can't outrun them." Elias's mind raced. Then he saw it. A cluster of dense asteroid fragments spinning inside the nebula. Dangerous, but it was their only chance. "Head for the rocks," he ordered. The ship plunged into the field, weaving between tumbling stone giants. The hunter followed, but its larger hull scraped and clanged against the rocks. "Now!" Elias shouted. Mira swung the ship hard, slipping through a narrow gap. The hunter tried to follow, but the opening was too small. With a deafening crash, its hull struck the asteroids, breaking apart in sparks and flame. The crew cheered as the wreck vanished into the glowing mist. Lyra sank into her chair, her chest rising with relief. "You saved me again." Elias gave her a faint smile. "No, Princess, we saved each other." After the battle, the crew sat together in the mess hall, bruised and exhausted but alive. Jonah shook his head. "We should have been destroyed. That ship outgunned us 10-1. Mira grinned tiredly. "But humans are stubborn. We don't like giving up." Kareen raised a mug. "To the Silver Dawn, small but unbroken." They all laughed softly, the sound easing the tension. Lyra looked around the table, her eyes shining. She had never known such loyalty, not even in her palace. These were simple traders, yet they had risked everything for her. She spoke softly. "I was taught that power comes from wealth, from armies, from fear. But you have shown me another kind of power, one that cannot be bought." Elias nodded. "It's called choice. And today, we chose to stand with you. That's what makes us human." Lyra's heart swelled. For the first time since leaving her world, she felt truly safe. Not because she was hidden, but because she was no longer alone. Outside, the galaxy remained dangerous. The hunters would not stop. The Empire's reach stretched far. But aboard, the Silver Dawn, the crew had made their decision. They would protect Lyra. They would see her to safety no matter the cost. And in that choice, humanity had shown its strength. The Silver Dawn glided silently through the black void, its hull scarred from recent encounters but holding firm. The nebula behind them glowed softly, casting pale light over the ship's worn interior. The crew had spent days repairing the damage, restoring the engines and shields, and yet none of them had relaxed. They knew the hunters would return, stronger and more relentless than before. Captain Elias Ward paced the bridge, his eyes fixed on the distant stars. Every ping of the sensors reminded him that the galaxy was vast, and that enemies could appear from any shadow. "Captain," Jonah said, nervously. "Our long-range scanners picked up multiple contacts. Small ships, fast, maneuverable. They're closing in from 3 directions." Elias clenched his jaw. "They've found us, and they've come prepared this time." Lyra stood beside him, her silver hair glinting in the dim light of the bridge. Despite the looming threat, she remained calm, her hands folded in front of her. "Captain, if they board us, what will we do?" Elias turned to her. "We fight and we survive, that's all we ever do." The crew gathered in the mess hall for a final briefing. Mira adjusted the power flow to the shields, her hands shaking, slightly. "If they hit us all at once, the shields might fail," she admitted. Kareen checked the medbay, ensuring supplies were ready. "If anyone gets hurt, we need to be prepared." Jonah leaned over the star charts. "We can't outrun them. Their ships are faster and stronger. Our only chance is to outsmart them." Lyra looked at each of them, her voice calm but steady. "Then we must work together. I may not know war, but I know strategy. I can help." Elias nodded, feeling a sense of pride. She wasn't just a princess. She was part of the crew, and together they had a chance. The first sign of the hunters came as a ripple on the sensors. Small lights appeared, fast-moving, closing in like swarming predators. Elias took the captive.